Welcome back, everyone, to the Future of Work series. I'm here with our CEO and co-founder of Briq, Bassem, Hamdy. Bassem, thanks for joining us.
No problem.
My name's Ellis, Talton. So we've covered some great workflows so far.
Yeah.
We've really kind of worked our way through setting up the job right, setting up your budgets. Now we talked about, actually you plan and run the projects, run the business from project forecasting, WIP to revenue. There's two pieces of the money workflow we've not talked about. And these are the workhorses, in my opinion.
100%.
The most important. Although we said project forecasting and WIP was extremely important, but these are two really untreated. They can really rot your business.
Yes.
That is the spend and billings management.
AP and AR.
AP and AR.
It's like
paying, getting paid, and paying.
Yeah, which, at the end of the day is cash flow, just FYI.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it's become the domain of a 30-year-old accounting system or any kind of an off-the-shelf workflow system, or people see them as different things. Expenses for an employee, credit card swipes, corporate cards, AP invoices, subcontractor invoices. They're all seen in all these silos, but at the end of the day, they produce billing amounts that need to get billed. If you're, doing, GMP type billings, they need to get billed, or time and material billings. And they need to get to a point where they bring in money and the money goes out. Right now, construction is notorious to stretch out vendors. They don't just do that for no reason. And by the way, some of our clients do the same thing to us. So we know and have for the last 24 years. They're good payers. They're just late payers.
Yeah.
They don't do that because they're being malicious. They do that because they really don't know what's going in and what's going out.
Right.
And the key that I always see when I walk into a company, it doesn't matter their size. Big companies, small companies, they have some workflow process for spending and some workflow process for billing. They have to, right? They got to get something out. They are companies that are in business, so they have some process, but it's just too darn hard. And, I had a client that said, I'm hiring as many AR billing clerks as I possibly can. I said, why? He goes, well, billing is a nightmare. Collecting the data for billing is a nightmare. Getting backup together is a nightmare. And we need as many bodies on this. I said, do you know it's 2023? Like you can't just keep on throwing bodies at problems.
Right.
There are not enough in the workforce. We're at historically low unemployment rates. There aren't enough bodies, A, to do that. And B, nobody wants that job.
Right.
It's not a good job. It's not a fun job.
Right. Yeah. And you talk about, spend management and billings management in the context of the future of work. I mean, these are two processes that are very connected as well to the project forecasting, the revenue recognition piece as well. We've even, kind of heard aspirations of, hey, can I turn my spend management process into a profit center?
Yeah.
Can I find a way to make money, from being able to, bill faster, really improving cash flow, really being a center for improving cash flow in the business.
We have clients before Briq that didn't bill $250,000 over a year in credit card spend. $250,000 because the credit card, in this company's example, 6 to 8 weeks to get from credit card swipe to ledger on average. Downloading statements, project managers are late, they cost coded them wrong. By that time, jobs close out and all this money is missing. $250,000. This was a $80 million GC. This is not a huge company, but it's not a small company.
Right.
$250,000. That's a lot of cheddar to lose.
Yeah.
And on something as silly as I don't have a workflow that works.
Right. Yeah.
And that's, I think, why we defined it as spend, in this case, talking about the two halves, the yin and yang, why we defined it as spend and not AP or expenses or credit cards.
Right.
It's whatever you spend money on.
Right.
And it's generally where the biggest losses is under uncommitted costs.
Yes.
So, in the infinite wisdom of venture capitalists everywhere, they funded a lot of companies that focus on subcontractor billings. And actually, quite frankly, subcontractor billings, very important, but kind of easier because there's a playing field, there's a contract. They bill you against contract. It's a percent complete. You just got to watch for change orders that they put through, and you got something there, right?
Yeah.
Uncommitted costs.
Right.
That credit card swipe adds up to millions of dollars across every company. And if you don't manage those correctly, if the AP invoice is sitting in an inbox or sitting on a table or worse in a drawer and nobody's aware of it, You don't have that co-pilot driving how much you spend, managing that for the purpose of understanding your cash flow. Same goes with billings. There's a lot of systems out there and we interact with all of them. Textura, GC Pay, great billing systems out there, but there's no co-pilot. There's no instrumentation. There's no way of driving that to be done faster. So money in, money out. Right now at a lot of construction companies, this is the ultimate garbage in, garbage out moment.
Totally.
They don't know what they spent and they don't know what they're billing.
100%. And if you'd imagine, one of our clients, large, especially contractor, processing 8,000 invoices a month.
Yeah.
He's like, look, it could take 60 days before I get that invoice before the project manager thinks they're overbilled on the job, but they're actually underbilled because there's tons of costs that they haven't even touched.
Yeah. Let's talk about the world before Briq. They, I have a client, they call it a fly sheet. The stamp or the Post-it note. You can buy these at Staples still, by the way. Anything you can buy at Staples indicates you're working in a bad workflow. Right. Yeah, so you take a Post-it note and you put it on, it says GL account or cost code or job, and you write it down, you photocopy it, and you email it to the next person, or you scan it in, and that's the height of automation. You scan it in and you email it to the next person, that goes to the next person, goes to the next person. Sometimes it starts with the first person again. And then ultimately shows up in somebody in the AP department typing in this invoice. And while it's there, it's in the ether. Nobody knows where it is. Yeah. That's generally what's happening. That's AP invoices.
Yeah.
Now you got a credit card swipe. That's on a statement that comes out every 30 to 45 days. And we're reliant on a project manager in the goodness of his heart, if it's a corporate card or her heart, to download that statement and go and put cost codes on the AMX statement or cost codes on the Visa statement. And then download that in Excel generally and send it in. Usually 6 to 8 weeks to get that done. That's the big two pillars. Then you have three-way matching. We'll talk a little bit about that, but let's knock out those first two pillars. That's what it looks like. I don't know if anybody is watching it sounds familiar. Hand code, scan, email, approve, type. It's backwards. It's backwards. You need to have the system help you say, this is on this credit card, it's more than likely this project. Or that project number is on the invoice. Your system should be able to read it and say, that's a project number. And that's what we're talking about on this generative automation. It's learning what you guys do as a spend organization, learning those workflows, generating the right bottleneck-free spend management workflows, whether it's credit card, an expense form, or an AP invoice, and having that push to ledgers in, forget about weeks, in minutes. And we do this and we accomplish this through helping, learning, obviously that machine learning component. This job sounds like the job you should be charging to, recommending to the individual, but also using mobile apps, basic mobile apps, alerting somebody in real time once you've swiped and deconstructing that statement so that it's coming through daily, not monthly. Doing the same thing on AP, having the system's email address be, ap@constructioncompany.com, and having our bots read those statements or read that invoice and building that in real time, understanding where the job number is and pushing that to ledgers. That's that part. Make that not garbage in, make that pristine.
Yes.
The rest of it's easy. That rest of it's easy. Billing is hard because you don't know what you spent.
Right.
Billing is easy when what you do is spent.
Right. So, before you have lots of papers. I mean, they're either getting mailed to you and you're scanning them in, or they're getting emailed, printed out, hand typed in. Post, kind of in the future of work, the future of AP, the future of spend is automatically determining what that cost is, where it belongs, who must approve it, right? Hitting that job cost faster.
Yeah, you're having a robotic AP person.
Let's have a look and see what that looks like here.
Hey everyone, so today we're going to be looking at Briq's spend management module. Within spend management, we have three different tool sets. So the first one being AP invoice automation, second one being a credit card expense automation, and then the third one being reimbursements. So today we're going to start with the AP invoice automation. Then we'll work through the rest of the spend management tools. And really the goal of our spend management module is to eliminate the manual, mundane data entry tasks that are not only time consuming, but prone to a lot of human error. And so we start by automatically bring in those PDF invoices in, right? Those ones that are coming to potentially a dedicated AP email address, right? We're going to be scraping that email inbox, bringing them into Briq. And that's where our Amazon AWS technology that we have embedded into the software begins to go to work. So if I open up an example invoice here, you see on the left-hand side, that technology had automatically extracted all the information that you see there. So we typically call those the required fields, right? You have a certain set of fields that are required when typing an invoice into your system. So things like invoice number, invoice date, purchase order number, that's all going to be pulled automatically from that Amazon technology. The other key piece here is that we know that vendors aren't always perfect. So it's going to pull whatever's on that invoice, but we know that sometimes vendors can put the job number in the purchase order number box and vice versa. So we're giving you the flexibility here to be able to adjust any of the fields that have been pulled by either manually overriding these fields or by changing the way it's actually mapping on the invoice. So here it pulled that purchase order number, but maybe we actually need to pull from a different field on this invoice. We're giving you a drop down of all the different fields that are available so that moving forward, whenever this company sends me an invoice, right, it's going to remember that change, that nuance that's unique to that particular vendor, so that every time moving forward, we wouldn't have to make that change. Another thing that it's doing is it's pulling all of the line items on this invoice. In this particular example, we only have one line item. However, if there was 10, it would recognize that there were 10 line items here. But we see that it's pulling the description, the quantity, the unit price, the total price. And from here is where we're giving you that ability to start doing those allocations, right? We want to cost code all of the line items on this invoice here, dependent on where they need to be applied, right? So whether it's a job or a general overhead, you know, one of the key pillars of Briq is that we're connected to your systems. So because we're connected to your ERP, your project management systems, we're going to have all of your relevant lists of projects here within Briq, as well as all the cost codes that are applicable to that project so that we can properly allocate this invoice. Now, in this case, again, there was only one line item. However, if there were multiple line items here, I'd be able to bulk allocate this allocation across either all of the line items or a select few of the line items here. From this point, this invoice can go through an approval workflow where the invoice based on the job number would be routed to the project manager for approval. And it can have multi-steps involved there if multiple people need to have their eyes on this invoice to ultimately approve it before our system is going to take this invoice data, right? The required fields that we talked about, the line item information and the allocations, the PDF copy of the invoice, and actually go into your system and create the invoice using one of our automations.
Great. Okay. So exactly as we explained, we see the invoice being read, we see it being allocated, going through that approval network.
And that gets smarter all the time.
100%.
Right?
Yeah. Talk a little bit too about on the billing side. I mean, so you talked about it's easier once you have the cost in hand. Pre this world, you're trying to collect invoices and change orders.
Right.
What does it look like post future of work? On the
I once
billing
asked
side?
somebody pre-Briq, one of our prospects, what do you guys bill out of? And they said, oh, we bill out of Adobe Acrobat.
Oh my.
Yeah, and I said, what do you, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. And they're like, well, we take all the tabs and we have all the invoices in PDF and then we merge it into a big PDF and then we put it in order and then we get a G702 printed in Excel and we print it and then we scan it and then we email it. And they thought, oh, that's pretty good. And I said, how long does that take you? It's like, oh, not long. And I said, how accurate is it? I have no idea. You know, like there is like, it's, first of all, it takes way too long. Yeah. Second of all, why is a human sorting documents? Like this is automation technology we've had for, you know, almost a decade in the case of sorting. So ultimately, if you can set up the playing field, and this is what we're talking about all along, everything is connected. You set up the playing field for the budget, forecasts become easier. You set up the playing field for spend, billing becomes easier. It automates that function. It's building the G702, G703, or a custom invoice format.
Yeah.
But more importantly, as more of these systems get funded, whether you're a subcontractor or GC, there are more billing systems now than ever before that owners are mandating, or if I'm a sub, GCs are mandating that I go do double data entry. I need to own my data. So I can't
100%.
just use their system. I have to use both systems. That owner mandated or GC mandated billing system is a time suck and a dollar suck. Let our bots do that work for you so that the billings end up in the right buckets in Textura or GC Pay or whatever system that's being mandated to you.
Yep.
And have that be done, because now you need less AR clerks. Focus on collections, not data entry.
Yeah.
Focus on getting the money and the accuracy of that money, not data entry. That's the key.
And we say microchips don't replace relationships, because a lot of getting paid is relationships with your owners and with the customer, right? So focus on having a better relationship with the customer and not chasing paper.
You know how frustrating it is to get a wrong invoice? Like, just think about how frustrating it is to get overbilled or billed incorrectly, or being told, hey, you didn't pay me enough at the end of a project. Like, that is just bad customer service. And that the future of work is focusing on relationships. The future of work is focusing on efficiency and profitability. Yes. But like exactly what you said, the focus of the work is knowing what's right.
Yeah. Let's have a look real quick at an example on the billing side of what that might look like.
Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking through Briq's billing and receivables module. Starting off, you're just looking at more of a dashboarding view, but the first thing to understand and just to remember about Briq is that we're connected to multiple systems. So if your contracts and your subcontracts and customer information and vendor information, any of the relevant data that might exist within your PM system or your ERP, we're able to connect to those solutions and bring that data into Briq on a regular basis. We're also going to be able to push information back, which we can get to in a little bit. But what you're seeing right off the bat, this is really one place for you to be able to manage all your client invoices. So you're going to be able to search and filter by different customers you're working with, invoices, invoice dates, values. And if I want to come in and actually look at editing one of these, what you'll see is that we have this really easy to use interface for you to come in and do and fill out these requisitions. So we offer a flexibility in terms of how you want to go about billing. So if you want to do a % complete method, unit-based, you want to bill more of a calculated method or bill for cost, we're going to be able to lock down any relevant fields in here that you need. So if you don't want your teams to be able to edit contract values because that might not reconcile between your system, you can lock these fields down. We're automatically going to be rolling these values forward. So as you bill, those values will automatically for the next requisition flow into the previously billed amount. Within the solution, again, just you're able to come in, make the inputs you need. If you want to do a billed amount, have that back into a percentage or have a percentage back into a value. Very flexible in that regard. One thing that's great about the solution as well is the ability to attach backup at the line item level. So at the actual bill code level, I'm able to come in, I'm able to make attachments. And now where that's going to really save me time is the consolidation of this full reporting package. And there's a few different sort of items we'll be able to add in that we can talk about as well. But with this tool, it's very flexible in that regard. We want to personalize it to your business. If you need additional columns, if you need different ways of calculating, we're always adding new ways to sort of get those things done. You'll see I'm able to preview my invoice. It's automatically consolidate. In this example, a 702 and 703. All of those attached files as well will be included in this package. And as part of these invoices, as you're filling these out month over month, and you have a lot of different requisitions, a big thing we hear where there might be some risk with Excel or other solutions is the ability to come in and really easily see revision history. So if something gets typed over in Excel, it's not easy to know what's the right value, who made that change, when it changed, what file is actually the most up-to-date representation of my last requisition. So with this tool, you're going to always have this revision history available to you. So you'll know who made what changes, when they changed it, and sort of what encompassed that full history. So in terms of formatting, we also understand that customers require a lot of different types of formats with their AIAs. So you might want the ability to come in and actually list out your change orders as an example. You might want the ability to see different budget reallocations that have occurred over the life of the project. And these are just going to be a few different examples. Ultimately, over time, we want to provide this template library for you where you're going to be able to facilitate all the different ways you need to do your billing. In this example, I'm using a supplemental cost transaction report to substantiate what I'm billing. So I'm able to bring in all this relevant cost data. Again, any of this information that exists within a system, whether that's an ERP or a PM system, we're able to bring that information into Briq, which you can then use as part of your billing or for supplemental reporting in that regard. In this example, if I want to come in and just actually see a listing of the change orders, I'm able to quickly come over and see sort of what's making up that item on my 702. And then maybe you have some jobs that aren't going to require an AIA. You might have some service jobs or a service department. We also support all different types of invoices, not only the AIA format. So as your teams are coming in, they're doing their billing. The next question is generally, how does this information get back into my system? So this is where we're able to use our automations to take all of these billed values and actually enter those back into your ERP system for you. We want to mitigate sort of any double data entry associated with this process. We're also able to send these requisitions out to your actual client for you to be able to receive payment.
Great. So exactly like that, G702, G703, either the custom invoices.
Yeah. And this is a newer part of the product. It's getting smarter and better all the time.
Yeah.
It's really driven as an automation engine, not necessarily replacing your AR module in whatever system you're running. But to be honest, most AR modules have one invoice with one line, and there's no details in the accounting system. At least here, you can get that fully automated in. Save time on billing, get money faster.
Yeah. And I think the great thing about, spend and billings, it's all about cash flow.
That's right.
And when you supercharge your spend, and if you're looking at all of these workflows that we're covering in the Future of Work series, and if you're to say, okay, what two should I start with?
Yeah.
I've been cost and billings, spend management and billings is really a no-brainer.
It's so logical.
Because it supercharges so many more workflows downstream.
Yeah, you get money in faster if you recognize it faster, and you get money, that's it. I mean, there's no other part of it. It's just as simple as that. If all of your AP invoices get approved and allocated in close to real time, just imagine going from the 60 days that other company was doing on AP to 24 hours.
Yes.
And now that it's going to hit the billing cycles.
Yes.
That's the key.
Yeah, that's the key. That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Spend and billings, cash flow, huge part of the money workflow and the future of work. Great. Stay tuned for the next one. Thanks.